Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to NAUI's Dive Team Report. I'm your host, Greg Martin. You know, I have visited a lot of dive shops around the country. Spent a lot of time visiting every dive shop I can possibly get into. And I love to see all the different ways that dive shops represent themselves and represent the agencies that they are representing, if that isn't confusing enough. I just recently ran across the folks at Rum Runner Dive Shop and have found out that they've been a NAUI shop for a long, long time. And I wanted to talk to them because I haven't done an awful lot of diving up in the northeast part of, or the east part of the United States, and wanted to find out what diving was like there, what their store is like. So I got Carolyn, who's the manager. Carolyn Wagner is the manager of the store, on the phone with us. And good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Greg.
Talk to me a little bit about Rum Runner Dive Shop in of itself.
Well, it's been in this town of Greenville for about 40 years. I believe my husband and I, Pete, are the fourth owners of Rum Runner. We've owned it for the last 12 years. We're located about an hour and a half from the beach, so graveyard of the Atlantic in North Carolina. Fabulous diving. We also have a lot of local quarries, so lots of options for diving.
Now, do you consider that cold water diving, or is it sort of between cold and warm?
Probably between cold and warm. We have the Gulf Stream that comes up here, so in the summer it's like Florida. Winter, still a little cold, more dry suit, 7 mil kind of stuff, but you could dive all year long.
Sure. And I'm assuming the lakes and the quarries and so forth are pretty much cold water.
Yeah, they warm up in the summer, but it's a short season.
So is it mostly dive travel for you guys, or do you help support the local the dive community? I mean, you're an hour and a half away from diving, which isn't a long way, but it does put some, it put a little crimp in your style if you're trying to do some dives.
No, actually, we do more local. We support a lot of the local. We train in the local quarries, March through November. We dive off the coast of North Carolina, usually weekly. This summer was lots of bad weather, so the boats weren't always going out. But because North Carolina is still pretty rural, people don't really think twice about driving an hour and a half to someplace.
Very similar to where we're at here. We're on the eastern part of Washington State. To get any good diving, you have to drive at least 3.5 to 4 hours, and the best diving is probably 4.5 to 5 hours away. And most of the divers in this area just don't think twice about doing that. So that's good, and especially if you're also helping support local dive economy. You're also a NAUI facility, and you said you've been NAUI for like 40 years?
Correct.
Why?
Now, I myself just became an instructor about 2 years ago, but we have been a NAUI facility for 40 years.
Is there what is the reason that you're a NAUI facility?
I was trained myself NAUI, so we've always wanted to keep that along the lines. But I think partly is the educational freedom that we have, the philosophy that NAUI has, and the university here in town has been NAUI, so it works very nicely for us to work together that way.
Now, you mentioned to me in an early email when we were going back and forth that you support a lot of youth programs, and I do want to get into the other folks that we have in the room with us. But I want to give you a big slap on the back and kudos for supporting youth programs, because as we have talked many times on the Dive Team Report, the young blood that we need coming into is so very, very critical. Talk a little bit about how you do that with your youth programs.
Well, originally, so before I owned the dive shop, I'm a very service-oriented person. I was a nurse, I was a guardian ad litem for kids, I was a Cub Scout leader. So I had a lot of volunteer work and youth activities. And when we first took over the dive shop, that seemed to go away a little bit. So it sort of dawned on us that we have a lot of families that participate. It would be a great way that I could utilize my passion for working with youth with scuba. And several years ago, we met the Sokolovic family and their nonprofit organization, Love a Sea Turtle, trained their family, and we just sort of have been partners since then.
That's awesome. So we also have some other folks in your office, and I was going to say the studio, but technically this is not. This is the virtual studio here. So who do we have with us?
So we have Dan and Kay Sokolovic.
Say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon or good evening. It depends on when you're listening to this. Talk a little bit about your program. Turtles. Turtles are fascinating creatures of the ocean.
Well, this was an organization that was created by our daughter almost 13 years ago. And in keeping with her love of the ocean and sea turtles, we explored different dive shops to get certified in. We looked at a number of them. And when we entered Carolyn and Pete's dive shop, it was a totally different experience. It was a family environment. They encouraged families, they encouraged training, and we felt safe and we liked the program. So it was a reintroduction for me because I'm well over 50 and I have been diving since I was 12, but our kids have gone through the program. And then as our nonprofit has grown, I spoke to Carolyn over the years about how we would like to really incorporate diving, and she and her shop has made that avenue and path completely accessible to us. And now we have young people who started with us 6-7 years ago who are now instructors and training to be instructors.
And also employees here at the dive shop.
Nice.
So we have over 50 divers, who we can say have come through our program or been associated with the program, whether it's student or family. And then we have branched off into ensuring that underserved and underrepresented populations also have the opportunity to scuba.
So, why turtles?
Well, our daughter took a trip to the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center, 13 years ago, and she saw the situation, what was going on with the sea turtles on our coast, and she drove home with her mom and said, I need to do something to help them last. L-A-S-T, Love a Sea Turtle, and it was born. And since then, she began selling sugar cookies shaped in the form of a turtle. She's raised tens of thousands of dollars, and it's grown into summer camp programs, year-round volunteering, service learning, water quality program, and it's nationally, locally, and internationally recognized. And she has raised probably $1 million to fund her efforts. And it's completely run by youth, and it's funded by youth and funded by local agencies.
That's fantastic. So how do you guys play well together with the dive shop?
That's easy.
So we started with having so many youth members just active as part of our dive community that we started to think, well, we need an actual youth club. So we started the initial effort at some local schools 3 years ago and had several kids and their families join. And now this year we've actually converted it to, it's called East North Carolina Youth Scuba Club, or ENC Scuba. We have monthly meetings twice a month. One is playing in the pool, whether it's doing tri-scuba, snorkeling, underwater hockey, and one is an educational meeting. So this past week we had trash talk trivia night. So we educate the kids while having fun. It's a place where they can not sit there and listen to just lectures, but it's more interactive. We have probably anywhere from 10 to 20 kids come to each meeting. We also have gone out and done marine debris collection. We have done a nautical archaeology class. We have gone diving on our new tugs in North Carolina Ocean and did fish counting. So we're hoping that it continues to grow. It brings not just the youth, but their families. So that's what we have found. It seems to be our place.
Nice. I still have yet to hear from the other voice in the room. You want to tell me about exactly the process of working with the turtles, how you manage to make sure that those turtles last?
Well, as Dan Jan mentioned, our daughter Casey started off with the baking and selling of the turtle-shaped sugar cookies and raising money to go to the Sea Turtle Hospital. She inspired a sea turtle blend of coffee from a North Carolina coffee roaster and set that up so that a portion of the proceeds goes directly to the Sea Turtle Hospital, which all helps, with their rehabilitation and, sending them back out to sea. So.
Did I hear whispers there?
Yes, in addition, we are the North Carolina representative for the Moat Marine Laboratory program called Stow It, Don't Throw It, which is the fishing line recycling program. And we have repurposed more than 12,000 cans of 12,000 tennis cans into fishing line recycling units and distributed them. The interesting thing that maybe some of your listeners don't know is that in the United States, if you are under 18, there's really nothing you can do to work with sea turtles. We could go to Costa Rica or Nicaragua and our youth could work directly with sea turtles, but in the United States, you have to be over 18 or a researcher. So for someone who's a young person, it's quite limiting. So what we did is we looked for ways to engage them in other activities that influence the upstream downstream connection of what impacts a turtle. Does removing plastic bags impact them? Yes, because a plastic bag looks like a jellyfish. So recycling efforts, conservation efforts, these all tie in. These are all important little foundational blocks to helping protect and preserve not only sea turtles, but the entire ocean marine environment.
Nice, nice. Well, it's nice to hear that there are people in the world that can play nice together and help support each other. Carolyn, I applaud you guys for that work. Talk a little bit about before we let things go here. Talk a little bit about your scuba programs there. I mean, do you have regular full classes, or are divers hard to come by these days?
Well, we recently moved to a new location, so we are actually in an aquatic center. It's a separate business within there. One of our instructors built this facility with us in mind, so we have a dive well. We teach all year long. Our high season is probably April through October. It gets a little slow in the winter. But in Eastern North Carolina has such a diverse state. We have water, we have more waterways for kayaking, we have mountains. So there's definitely a competition for outdoor activities. So that is sort of how we landed with the family and youth program, is because that's where we found we had a strong draw. So that's where we put our concentration. Good deal.
Good deal. Well, I thank everybody for spending some time talking about turtle programs and youth and diving. If you happen to be in the North Carolina area, you're looking for a really good dive shop to go. Divers like to hang out in dive shops. So check out Rum Runner Dive Shop, and by all means, you go online. You guys have a website for Rum Runner, right?
Correct.
And Love a Sea Turtle?
Yes.
What is that?
LoveASeaTurtle.com.
LoveASeaTurtle.com and RunRunnerDiveShop.com as well. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
If you'd like to learn about scuba diving, be sure and visit your local NAUI dive shop, like Run Runner Dive Shop. Ask them about how you can get into this great underwater world of the deep blue. That's going to wrap it up for me. I'm Greg Martin. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you underwater.